Good afternoon, Rotarians.
Good afternoon, Kevin.
Hello. People out there? I'll do it again. Bob, I count on you. Good afternoon, Rotarians. There we go. Welcome to the last meeting of May of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm President Kevin Kassir. And unfortunately, I want to take care of this right off the bat. We heard some tragic news in our club last week. Hal Chase was just at Rotary last Thursday, and later that day he died in a car accident, if you hadn't heard. Hal was a member of our club for 11 years, very active. Visitation and funeral details are on the Caldwell Parish website. But for us today, I'd like to ask you to take a moment of silence in remembrance of Hal. Thank you. Yeah, tough news this week. Moving on to more positive news. I've talked about this before, but here was another one that came in the mail today. Is Tej here? Not Tej didn't make it. So I've talked about in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had our members on the cover of the business record, right? And regularly I talk about the amazing folks. So in the last month, I think this is fair to say, we've had Greg in 3 of the last 4 weeks. We've had Greg Edwards, Bill Wright, and now Tej Dewan on the cover of the business record. So again, what a fantastic group of people we have assembled here every Thursday. Next, I'd like to do some thank yous. Kitty is on vacation this week, a well-deserved vacation, and while she's gone, she calls on a few folks to fill in, and Jordan, of course, is stepping up, and Jamie Boersma and Bob Vedrell also pitch in and step up for her. So I'd like to give them a thank you. And next, our greeter today was Jackie Norris, who, by the way, speaking of recognition, was recently named one of the Women of Influence here. So, Jackie, congratulations and thank you for contributing. And next, I'd like to invite Melissa Merrifield up, to a new member this year, who's stepping up, which I appreciate, to lead us in a moment of inspiration, Pledge of Allegiance, the 4-way test, and then we'll have an opportunity to greet each other. So, Melissa?
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone. So my moment of inspiration comes from a famous quote from Paul Harris, one life at a time. A Rotary changes us and those we serve. I believe we can change the world one life at a time, Paul Harris. As we step into the final days of May, a month filled with significance, we pause to reflect. We just honored Memorial Day, a moment to remember those who gave everything in service to others. We celebrated graduates full of hopes and ready to share the future. And we engaged in service projects that reflect the heartbeat of every Rotarian. This is a bridge. This season is between of what we've accomplished and what is yet to come. It is a natural moment to ask, how can I continue to make an impact? Paul Harris reminds us that change doesn't always come in sweeping gestures. It comes at one life at a time. That might be a student we mentor, a veteran we honor, a neighbor we serve. Each act of kindness and leadership is a spark, igniting something bigger than we can ever see firsthand. As we move into the second half of the year, I challenge you to carry this momentum forward. Let's be present, let's be purposeful, and be persistent in our services, because through Rotary, we don't just change the world. We grow while we're doing it together, one life at a time. I'd like everybody to stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, our pledge.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Now, I encourage you all to greet each other and share a moment of gratitude to each other.
Carl Ernest Phillips. Pleasure. David, good to see you. I'll see you soon. Likewise. Your job's important. Thank you. Great job, Melissa.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you. Okay.
All right, thank you, everybody. We have a few guests with us today. As I mention your name, I'd ask you to stand and remain standing, and then we will acknowledge you all together. The first off is Nakona Dayton with Tri-City Electric, a guest of Josh Brady. Next is Ernest Phillips, owner of the Relationship Wealth Enterprises, a guest of Melissa Merrifield. Welcome. We have a couple birthdays to celebrate today. I see Eric Oberfeld is here. Happy birthday, Eric. Wow. Okay,
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Eric. Happy birthday to you.
we might do it one more time. Sam Sodders, are you here today? No. Okay, well, say happy birthday to Sam. So you're all good. You weren't too early.
Was it that bad?
I had to just step away from the mic, that's all. It's fine. Thank you. Yeah. Where in the world is club number 27? For our guests, we were the 27th club in the world. There's now over 36,000 clubs. And so we have a little fun when we go on vacations. And Doug Saltzgaver went on a bourbon trail in Kentucky, and on his way back, he stopped to get a picture with Abe Lincoln and family. So and there he is. That's a great presidential library, by the way, in Springfield, Illinois. So if you haven't been there, it's a fun time. We got one of those pictures as well. Next segment, we're going to do a Did You Know? And the picture coming up here is a picture of Horace Mann. Does anybody know who Horace Mann is? Yeah? Everybody knows that? Educator, yes. So he was named the father of American education. And there are 50 public schools, but by the way, that were named after him, and 2 in Iowa, 1 in Iowa City, and 1 in Ottumwa. And in 1837, he was named secretary of the newly created Massachusetts Board of Education. I got a couple quotes here. This one was interesting. His belief that universal public education was the best way to turn unruly American children into disciplined citizens. He introduced taxes to fund public schools while convincing businessmen that the new taxes would lead to a more educated workforce that in turn would generate more profit. And here are some additional quotes that I really liked. A house without books is like a room without windows. A house without books is like a room without windows. Ignorance breeds monsters to fill up the vacancies of the soul. And lastly, seek not greatness, but seek truth, and you will find both. How about that? I'll say it again. Seek not greatness, but seek truth, and you will find both. And now, past president, oh wait a minute, sorry, I'm jumping, sorry. We have Skeet Wooten to come up once again, stepping up the plate. Doug was supposed to be here, but he is under the weather, so Skeet's doing again. And look, I didn't say skit, I said Skeet today. So things are looking up.
Thank you, Kelvin.
I think that's.
Yeah, you know, I graduated from.
You might want to stop now.
I graduated from Horace Mann Elementary School, so I'm a walking example of, you know, the ne'er do well, didn't do well. Anyway, show of hands, how many in here in the room are fathers? Anybody have any dad jokes? No? I got some dad jokes for you. Yeah, it's too late. Have you heard about the new dating app for arsonists? It's full of matches. Dad jokes are supposed to be groaners. Yeah, that was. Okay, you thought that one was good. Wait till you hear this one.
Feel free to groan.
Yeah, please do. Two guys were robbing a liquor store, and one robber grabbed a bottle and asked if this was whiskey. The other said, "Yeah, but it's not as whiskey as robbing a bank." Thanks, Susan. I'll pay you after the meeting. My grandson was chewing on electrical cords the other day, so I had to ground him. He's doing better currently, and he's conducting himself properly. My wife told me to stop singing "I'm a Believer" or she'd leave me. At first I thought she was kidding, but then I saw her face. Should I quit now? One more? Okay, let's see here. My doctor recently told me that I had Tom Jones syndrome. I said, "Is that common?" He said, "It's not unusual."
One of your better ones, Skeet. That was Rotarians on the floor laughing. I didn't give him a proper introduction. And now, past president Dave Busick, who's also our program chair this year, and once again, did a phenomenal job stepping up. I think we've had a great year. And
Got another month to go, so.
and oh, by the way, Tim Lilwitz, you're welcome. In Tim's year, we've got people like the CEO of Hy-Vee, CEO of Corteva. So the good shows are going to keep on coming. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you my friend and former work colleague, Emily Price, today. Emily is CEO of Healthy Birthday, a Des Moines-based nonprofit that now has national reach thanks to Emily's leadership. You'll learn today about the organization's campaign, Count the Kicks, designed to help expectant moms prevent stillbirths. Emily is a native of Tampa. She's a graduate of the University of Missouri School of Journalism. She came to work at KCCI in 2002 and quickly became one of our top reporters and anchors. Emily covered politics and state government. Her name was Emily Givens at the time. but she met a guy named Dave Price who works at WHO, and they got married. She's now Emily Price. Emily was our weekend anchor, and Dave was their weekend anchor, so they competed against each other on weekends, and I'll leave it up to you to figure out who won that ratings battle. Emily left KCCI in 2013 for a communications job with the city of Johnston, and then she moved to Healthy Birthday in 2017, where she is now Chief Executive Officer. She's got a personal story to tell about the birth of her own son and how that led to her work in this field. Earlier this year, Emily was named one of the Des Moines Register's People to Watch in 2025. Under her leadership, Count the Kicks has expanded now into 31 states. It took the lead in federal stillbirth prevention legislation signed last year by President Biden, developed a free kick counting app that's downloaded 11,000 times per month, and most important, knows of at least 150 saved babies due to this campaign. In a Register article, board member Tira May said of Emily, talk about a phenomenal woman, a phenomenal leader. This woman never stops thinking about saving lives. And I would add to that a really nice person as well. Emily Price.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you so much for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate the opportunity to see a lot of familiar faces and to meet some new friends too. So thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate it. So these are some of the faces. These are just some of the faces of the lives that we've saved through our program, Count the Kicks. And I'm excited to share with you a little bit more about our work today and a little bit more of how I got here as well. Next slide. So Count the Kicks, it's a highly effective evidence-based stillbirth prevention program, and that's how it started, out of a stillbirth prevention program. But what we've learned over the years is that it's actually helping save moms' lives too, and I can tell you a little bit more in a minute about that. It's a proven early warning system for moms. And so in a nutshell, I'm sure you've probably seen in the doctor's office or heard your doctor tell you, chest pain could be a sign of a heart attack, or droopy face could be a sign of a stroke. Well, during pregnancy, a change in a baby's movements in the third trimester of pregnancy is also an urgent warning sign, a sign that something might be going wrong with pregnancy. And so when I use the word stillbirth, the definition of that word is the loss of a baby at 20 weeks or greater during pregnancy. And so I'm sorry, it is kind of a heavy topic for midday, but there's also some really wonderful things happening in prevention and lives that have been able to be saved out of the work that started right here in Des Moines. And so the early warning system that I'm talking about is Count the Kicks. We educate expecting parents, get to know what's normal, movement for your baby in the third trimester. Speak up to your doctor if you notice a change, just as we would tell grown people about chest pains and droopy face and things like that. So as Dave mentioned, we've collected more than 150 baby safe stories so far. Those are stories just that we know of. Even when a baby arrives safely, like my son, it still can be a traumatic experience. And so I know that there are saves happening every day that we don't even really know about and we'll never hear about. And those saves are 55 of them, more than 55 of them are here in Iowa, and the rest are collected from 36 states and in 7 countries. I should update that to 8 because just this morning we verified a story out of Northern Ireland of an app user in Northern Ireland who is using our app to help get her baby here safely. Next slide. So this is my son, this is Hayden, and I worked at KCCI for Dave at the time that he was born. And he will turn 15 in July. He is a freshman out in the Waukee School District. We live in Urbandale. And long story short, had I not been working for Dave, I'm not sure that our story would have turned out as well as it did. And the reason why is back in the early 2000s, there were 5 women here in Des Moines who all lost daughters to stillbirth or infant death. One of them is a current state senator, Janet Peterson, who you might recognize that name. And then I'll show the rest of the women in just a minute. You may recognize some of them in addition to Janet. But long story short, I knew Janet because I covered politics for KCCI at the time, 2009 timeframe is what I'm talking about. And she approached me and said, aside from everything that I covered at the State House, she said, 4 of my friends and I are launching a nonprofit, and it's going to be called Healthy Birthday, and would you be willing to do a story on the launch of our nonprofit for the news? And so we did on June 1st, 2009, a story aired on the 10 o'clock news about the launch of Healthy Birthday and what the women have endured and how they had found it. They took research from Norway that showed a 30% reduction in Norway's stillbirth rate by simply educating expectant parents on get to know your baby's normal, tell your provider, speak up if you notice a change, and let your provider take it from there. Because there are various interventions that can happen when you tell your doctor. Just like if you're having a heart attack or a stroke, there are various interventions the doctor can do. It's the same thing with babies. Some of them require immediate intervention by an emergency C-section, and some of them take much longer, like ours, which I can explain in a minute. So the story aired June 1st, 2009, 10 o'clock news at KCCI, and it was about the launch of their nonprofit. And 1 year, almost 2 years later, so actually last Friday was the 15th anniversary of me speaking up, telling my doctor, I'm 30 weeks pregnant in my routine appointment, and I said, my son's movements have changed. I noticed something is different over the last 12 hours, 24 hours. Something is off, something is very different. So my doctor took me very seriously, and I was at a West Des Moines OB clinic at the time, and she sent me downtown right over there. So we're gonna give you some further tests. And so they hooked me up to what they call a non-stress test, and what they noticed as soon as they hooked me up is that at 30 weeks along, I was in very active early preterm labor. My son was ready to come at 30 weeks, which is my first pregnancy. I was not feeling the contractions. I had no idea. And long story short, I spent a Memorial Day weekend of 2010, very long 4 days at Mercy Hospital downtown under strict surveillance. And one of the first things they did was give me a shot. They said, we're going to give you this shot because it is a steroid for your son's lungs. So if he is born this weekend, it's going to give him a better chance of survival. And those are the exact words they used, a better chance of survival. And that was the first time that my husband and I realized how serious it was. Oh, so you mean maybe he won't survive or can't survive and he won't make it this weekend or down the road. And they also, when I was there, put me on a daily pill called Procardia. And Procardia is originally designed to help lower blood pressure if you have high blood pressure. I didn't have high blood pressure, but the secondary thing it does is help stop contractions. So they sent me home after 4 days and a steroid shot, and they said, you're gonna take this daily pill and you're gonna be on strict bed rest. So I was away from KCCI for a couple of months. I came back in the final 2 weeks of pregnancy because my doctor said, that you're 38 weeks along. If he's born today, he'll be fine. So I went back for a couple of weeks. My son was born completely healthy in the first day of the 40th week of our pregnancy. Not a second in the NICU, absolutely nothing wrong with him. And now, as I mentioned, he's a freshman in high school out in the Waukee district. Had I not known to speak up, had I not known about Count the Kicks and the program that was created here in Iowa, what I know now is a couple of things could have happened. He could have been stillborn, or he could have been born early and struggled quite a bit. But the reality is I don't have to know. We got extremely lucky that the campaign and the program exists, and that my doctors and nurses and the great care team got him here safely. Next slide, please. So these are the 5 women who all started Count the Kicks, and they all lost daughters in the early 2000s, as I mentioned. Janet Peterson, the state senator, is second from the right in the pink dress, and then there's Kate Saffras on the far right, Jan Carruthers in the middle, Tiffin Yeaman in the white dress, and then Carrie Biondi Moreland. They're all from the Des Moines Metro. They did not know each other before they lost their daughters, but they were all interconnected in the early 2000s by pastors, mutual friends, really just connecting them in their grief so that they had someone who had gone through a shared experience, a shared tragedy, that they would have someone to talk to, someone to lean on. And they looked at each other and they said, how do we keep anyone else from joining our club? In fact, Tiffin and Janet went to the same church and lost their babies 7 weeks apart and didn't even know each other. And they thought, here we are, women in Des Moines who have education, who have access to great health care, and we still lost our babies. How do we keep other women and other families from going through what we did? And so they found research out of Norway, as I mentioned, that showed that 30% reduction in Norway's stillbirth rate. And they said, great campaign start in Iowa. Let's start it here and see what happens. Even if we save one life, it'll be worth it. Because there's no harm in Count the Kicks. There's no harm in paying attention to your baby's movements. So they went to the Iowa Department of Health at the time, and also a large marketing firm in West Des Moines, Strategic America. And so we have this research out of Norway. Will you help us turn it into a mom-centered campaign? And so they did. Next slide. And just so you know, like, prevalence of stillbirth is much more than you probably think it is. I'll show you the campaign in just a second, but you hear a lot about SIDS, you hear a lot about safe sleep, especially as you're becoming a new parent. But stillbirth is actually 6.5 times more likely. You're as an adult or as a childbearing age person in America, you're actually 6.5 times more likely to endure a stillbirth than you are to have a baby who dies of SIDS. So 1 out of every 177 pregnancies in America ends in stillbirth. And unacceptable racial disparities persist as well. So Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islanders, Black pregnancies are at greatest risk of losing a baby to stillbirth. It's unacceptable that 1 out of 94 pregnancies for Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders ends in stillbirth. And for Black families, it's 1 out of every 97 pregnancies ends in the death of their almost full-term baby. And so that's all statistics from the CDC. Next slide. And so this is a look at our program. This is what Strategic America and the Health Department helped create. They wanted it to be bright and empowering. They wanted it to be, is it okay if I remove this and step back so they can see the pictures? Okay. I feel like I'm in your way.
You're fine.
Oh, I guess it's connected, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. So they wanted it to be bright and empowering. Obviously, stillbirth is something that's dark and scary, and especially, you know, when you're pregnant, to use the word stillbirth, who's, you know, pregnancy is a time of joy. They wanted it to be bright, empowering, something that a mom would pick up at the doctor's office and not shy away from, and that's something doctors can hand to expectant parents to be able to have that conversation. And so this is what it looks like. In fact, it's so bright and empowering and kind of Dr. Seussical. They reached out to Dr. Seuss's widow, Strategic America did, and say, can we have your permission to make this kind of Dr. Seussical? And his widow, we have a letter from her that says, yes, you can do that, make a Dr. Seussical bright and inviting. And so this is what it looks like. We have brochures, posters, app download reminder cards. They're in English and Spanish as a base, and then in many states, if a funder, like a state health department, is able to fund it and get it in additional languages, then it is in additional languages in many states. So like, we launched in Massachusetts a couple of years ago. They said we never launch a public health campaign until it's in 9 languages. So we were able to get it in 9 languages in Massachusetts. Many other states have it as well. In Florida, it's in Haitian Creole, Portuguese, things like that. And so this is what it looks like. So if you've been to a doctor, this is in general practice doctor's offices as well. So if you maybe have seen it at an urgent care clinic or your general practice office as well, you may have seen this previously in one of your doctor's offices. Next slide. We also have a free app that Dave mentioned. So we are around, this says nearly 10,000, it's a little outdated. We're getting closer to about 11,000 new app users every single month. Thank you. Oh, thank you. And so basically what you do on the free app is every time you feel a movement, a kick, a jab, a roll, you tap that teal footprint, mom does. Every time you feel a kick, a jab, or a roll, we really do encourage partners to take part as well. So dads can be heavily involved in paying attention, tapping the footprint. Younger siblings, if they have a 4-year-old, you know, can also help. And so what it does is shows you how long it takes your baby to get to 10 movements during your daily kick counting session in the 3rd trimester. And every baby's different. You know, my baby might take 20 minutes on average each day to get to 10 movements in the 3rd trimester. And Jill's baby might take 4 minutes on average to get to 10 movements. Jill needs to know that 4 is normal for her baby, and I need to know that 20 minutes is normal for my baby. So if all of a sudden my 20-minute baby took 3 hours to get to 10 movements, that's a sign I need to go to my doctor, speak up, let them know that something has changed. So really what the research shows is get to know what's normal, speak up to your provider. And there's no standard deviation, there's no research on a standard deviation. It is up to mom's intuition and knowing what's normal in her gut and her data that's on the app to speak up and tell her doctor. So our app is available all across the globe. It's been downloaded in more than 140 countries, all 50 states. It's available in 24 languages, so as those states come to us and say, I need your program in 9 languages in the printed education, we also get the app translated in those languages. So to date, we have 24, and we hope to keep building on that as well, to keep removing barriers to access to healthcare. You have a daily, you can set a daily reminder. We also have it on Apple Watch, so if you have the app on your phone, you can just connect it straight to your Apple Watch and do your daily kick counting session from your watch as well. And it's totally free. We have no barriers. As long as I live, it will be totally free for app users. So there are no ads, no pop-ups. We don't sell their information either. So here's a little bit of the proof of impact. So you've heard about my son and you've seen some of the faces of the babies that have arrived safely because of this work, but here's the data behind it. In the first decade of the program, so we launched in 2008, so 2008 to 18 was an overall 32% stillbirth rate reduction in Iowa. And that averages that means about 50 babies a year, with a 32% reduction is about saving the lives of about 50 Iowa babies every single year through the program. So the red line at the top is the national stillbirth rate. The teal dots are Iowa's stillbirth rate. Within that, in the first 5 years, you saw the disparities that I listed toward the beginning. Within that is an overall 44% reduction from beginning 2008 to current day, a 44% stillbirth rate reduction for Black families in the state of Iowa. And so we continue to ensure that this is reaching those at greatest risk of enduring a stillbirth. Next slide. Our research has been published. The stories are critically important. It's what helped land us on Good Morning America and USA Today and Washington Post. And our stories have been seen more than 400 million times across the globe, just getting baby safe stories out there appearing on national television. But the data is critically important as well. So we partnered in the last few years with a prominent stillbirth researcher out of University of Manchester, UK. His name is Dr. Alexander Hiesel. And I went to him and we said, we want you to study Iowa. We want you to study what happened here. So he put together the project, the study, and he wanted to see what neighboring states had done in the same time frame that did not have a public health campaign, did not have Count the Kicks, did not have anything related to educating moms on fetal movement monitoring. And what he found was that the stillbirth rate in Iowa went down. So he studied 08 to 18, 1% every single month, for every single 3 months for an entire decade, which was much faster than the US population average and much better than the neighboring states, Missouri, Illinois, and Minnesota, that didn't have a campaign at the time. In fact, that's even taken into account that Iowa's smoking rate increased at that time. Iowa's obesity rate also increased at that time. So even confounding factors that would potentially make Iowa a worse state for stillbirth, we still did much better than our neighbors. This is a Des Moines homegrown story. This didn't happen anywhere else. This started right here in Des Moines coffee shops, which is something our whole city should be proud of. Next slide. And this is kind of what I mentioned at the beginning. As we got into the program, we started noticing that it wasn't just saving babies' lives, that we'd have moms come to us and say, I was using your app and I told my doctor something was off, I spoke up, they took me seriously, and what they determined was I had preeclampsia that had gone undiagnosed, which in some cases could be near deadly high blood pressure. That's what preeclampsia is. And so the app has led moms to get their preeclampsia diagnosed and under control and the proper medication to help her as well. And that's like stroke level. Preeclampsia is like stroke level high blood pressure. There are many other things that can put a mom's life at risk when her baby is also struggling. So things like a placental abruption, umbilical cord complications, not only are deadly for babies, but can cause the death of a mom or cause severe complications as well. And so we partnered with Des Moines University and the Harkin Institute on a study, a white paper, related to how it's not just saving babies, but saving moms' lives as well. And so we have a link to that if anyone's interested in seeing it. So here's sort of in a nutshell, since I've been in this role, I just celebrated 8 years in this role of leading the organization. As I mentioned, more than 55 Iowa baby safe stories. We're now in 32 states. Minnesota late last year passed legislation that is law and funding attached to it to have Count the Kicks spread throughout the state of Minnesota. Because we actually, even though we launched in nearby Iowa, they hadn't launched Count the Kicks yet, and so we're about to launch there. That'll become our 32nd state. When I started, I know so many of you are business minded, so I was going to share a little business data with you as well. So when I started, there were 1.5 staff members. Today we have 17. Our annual budget, when I walked in the door, we had about $150,000 in the bank. Today we have a consistent $3 million budget.
budget year after year. A lot of that is due to other states coming to us and saying, how do I get this in Florida? How do I get this in Georgia? How do I get this in Kentucky? Name the state. We really started in the Midwest, then went to the South because that's where the worst stillbirth rates are in the South. And then we've now we're all over the country, aiming for 50 states, but not there yet. We also know how critically important research is and the importance of providers in this conversation, talking to expectant parents, making sure that the doctor, the nurse, the woman who answers the phone, the person who answers the phone at the clinic is talking to moms about this and how to handle it. If a mom calls and says, I've noticed a change, what should I do? We've unfortunately noticed, not just with our founders, but with women all across the country who have become ambassadors. They are become the voice in their state for our work. They come to us after the tragic loss of their baby to stillbirth, and they say, I noticed a change on a Sunday, and I called my doctor, and I noticed a change, and they said, well, you've got an appointment coming up on Thursday, we'll just check you out then. They lost their baby on Wednesday, and it wasn't handled right. We got lots of stories like that are completely infuriating, very sad, and you think about what could have been had there just been an earlier conversation or intervention. We also started getting emails, phone calls, people coming up to us at conference from providers themselves, doctors, nurses saying, what do I do? What do I do if a mom comes in with a complaint of a change in fetal movement? And we would kind of privately shake our head or scratch our head and think, well, you're the doctor, you should have a plan in place for this. But so many of them weren't told in OB school. They weren't educated. There's no uniform standard of care in this country of what to do when a mom comes in with that urgent warning sign. We have so much in place for heart attacks, strokes, things like that. We didn't have anything in place in this country for urgent warning signs related to a change in a baby's movements. So we went to the largest OB association in the country. They have it's basically 40,000 labor and delivery nurses in this country. And we said, will you partner with us on research on Count the Kicks? This was just over the last 2 years. And we got funding for it through the state health department here in Iowa. Luckily, they chose to fully fund it. And we had 10 pilot sites all across the country, including one here in Des Moines, high resource settings, low resource settings. So urban, New York City had one, really rural Wyoming had one, because it's so different, right? It's so different if you walk into Cedars-Sinai in LA or if you walk into a very rural hospital in the middle of Wyoming. It's very different as to what they have. Most won't have an ultrasound machine, things like that. Their capabilities are very different. So we wanted a bunch of different resource settings. Long story short, we just launched in February a partnership with A1, the large OB Nurse Association. There is now a standard of care for every doctor, every nurse in this country for what to do when a mom comes in with a complaint or a change in her baby's movements. It is a step-by-step guide, whether you're in high resource setting, low resource setting. What do you do when a mom comes in with a complaint and a change in fetal movement? And it takes them through the entire process of what to do. It's going to save lives, and we're really excited about it. And then, as Dave mentioned, the Maternal and Child Health Stillbirth Prevention Act, just a little bit of background on that. Covering politics, I was really excited to kind of be on the other side of that, to go to Washington, to say, we have living proof that this program works, that stillbirth prevention, when it's in place, works and it's powerful and it saves lives, and kind of show them the impact. In fact, I'm taking our son Hayden to DC in September on National Stillbirth Prevention Day for the first time to be a walking billboard of what happens when stillbirth prevention efforts are in place and to talk to lawmakers. But what this legislation did is, very long story short, through the budget that I told you about, when we launch in another state, it's either funded by an insurance company in that state or it's funded by a state health department. Lots of health departments in the South in particular fund our work so that we can have Count the Kicks throughout the state. And what they use is Title V dollars. So Congress, as you see, gives out Title V, it's called Title V, Maternal Child Health Block Grants. I'm kind of getting in the weeds now, but they give billions of dollars, approximately $3 billion every year to state health departments, and they say, do what you feel like you need to do in maternal child health in your state, and then states make up their minds on how to spend the money that they've gotten from Congress. That's called the Maternal Child Health Block Grant. And so much of our funds come from that. But when you look at Title V, when you look at what comes down from Congress, it was telling states to use it on things like really important things like safe sleep education, cystic fibrosis, all kinds of things that impact and can improve outcomes for moms and babies. But what it was never listing or mentioning or talking about was stillbirth. It was never ever, the word was never ever used. And so what did that tell states? Don't worry about stillbirth, don't address it, don't prevent it, don't spend any money on it. We all know when you don't spend money on something, it's forgotten. When you don't name it, when you don't talk about it, it's forgotten. And so what this bill did was very bipartisan. Congresswoman Hinson led it for us in the House. We had a congresswoman a Democratic congresswoman from North Carolina, a co-lead in the House, and then we had co-leads in the Senate as well. So extremely bipartisan. It passed the Senate on unanimous consent, and then we only had 3 nays in the House last May. And so what it did, and then it was signed by President Biden on July 12th of last year. And so now it was a call to action. It was a call to action from Congress and the President to say, take stillbirth seriously, take this crisis seriously, start using the funds that we're giving you on stillbirth prevention. And then I'll just to wrap up, I think that every single day in my organization, and anyone who's been a part of a nonprofit, you know how critically important storytelling is to your work. And the experience that I got working at KCCI and working with Dave and my amazing colleagues at KCCI have helped tremendously in telling the story of Count the Kicks. It's what drew me to, not only did it save my son's life, but even before that, it had me hook, line, and sinker of how just the amazing impact it's having on lives, and that it's homegrown here in Des Moines. Even though I was born and raised in Tampa, this is my home now. I've lived here longer than anywhere else. And just how cool it is that it was just started here, and where else could that have ever even happened? I don't think it could have happened in Tampa. I don't think it could have happened in Washington, D.C., but it started here, and it's really exciting that it did. And so we have, because of the success that we've had and the stories that we're able to share, we've been lucky to receive some international coverage. Next slide. So I'll leave you with the faces. These are just more of the babies that have been saved. As I look at them, a lot of them actually are from Greater Des Moines. In fact, almost all of them are just faces from right here, delivered at one of our hospitals right here. So I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you again for having me.
In that slide where it showed the national rates of stillbirths, there was a spike. And I'm curious as to, do you know why there was a spike in 2017, 2018?
I believe it's related to syphilis, congenital syphilis. And so you will see fluctuations. So a lot of times when we look at the stillbirth rate, you know, we look at it to inform our work. So I believe that was due to congenital syphilis, which we're also at like an 80-year high of congenital syphilis in this country. So it's amazing to me that the stillbirth rate still is going down despite that. Mm-hmm. But we will look at that and examine it and talk to the CDC or talk to state health departments and things like that. Because what we can do within our app is, we know we have a captive audience now of 11,000 pregnant moms every single month, and we have, after they have their daily kit counting session, we can serve them with a message now. So after they see their data, know what their normal is for that day or that week, then we can send them a message about testing, about prevention and congenital syphilis. We also give them safe sleep education, things like that. So we look at their whole pregnancy journey and how can we make it better. So it's not just stillbirth prevention. Thank you for the question. That's probably more than more than you asked for.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
You talked about the education that you provide to doctors and specialists in that field. Do they recommend to pregnant mothers to say, you should get this app? This will be part of our health program with you as a patient?
They do. We sent out about 3,600 locations across the country last year. About almost 2 million pieces of that printed education, and the vast majority are OBGYN offices that are ordering them and handing them to moms. A lot of times they'll hand them in the glucose screening, and like right as you're about to start the 3rd trimester. Some of them put it in their childbirth education packets. There's a wide variety of ways. And when we partner in a state, some of the things that the states fund are what they call like badge reels. So when you see a doctor and you see their badge, it's like the little clip that says Count the Kicks on it. Or they also have like a little badge that goes with it that is the QR code to download the app. We've tried to make it as present as possible in those waiting rooms and doctors' offices, so that not only does the doctor and nurse remember to talk to the patient about it, but the patient can see it and go, oh, well, Count the Kicks, what's that? And they have the conversation. In full transparency, we do have some doctors that will not talk to their patients about fetal movement monitoring, period. They're afraid it's going to make mom anxious. They're afraid they're going to get more calls that come in. I've had doctors say you're just going to make moms crazy. But what the research shows is that actually, and this is what the Harkin Institute research showed, was that actually our app reduces anxiety. We find that moms actually want more pregnancy information, not less, and if you give it to them in a bright and empowering way, they can take ownership of their pregnancy. They can get in touch with their baby and bond with their baby. So we partner with the Cleveland Clinic, we partner with Mayo Clinic, we partner with Cedars-Sinai. So we have a lot of bigger names behind us, but we do have a fraction that also are naysayers and just will not talk to their patients about it. And it's just part of the hill that we continue to climb. Thank you. That's a great question. Yes.
Yes, is there any way to generalize as to the nature of the procedure or modality or the range of procedures and modalities that the doctor uses to save the baby?
Do you mind elaborating a little bit more? Do you mean what are the different ways that they might have?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I think first and foremost, if it is very urgent, if doctor can see on the ultrasound very urgent, there's very clearly something wrong with that baby. I would say the most prominent would be a C-section, an emergency C-section, where they put mom under, they perform surgery to get that baby out immediately. Here's one example of that, and she's our most famous safe story because she was the one who was on Good Morning America in 2017. At Mercy Downtown, a mom was using her app. She was very in touch with her body. She knew what her baby's normal was. She went in for an ultrasound, her normal routine checkup on a Monday. On a Tuesday, she noticed something was off with her baby. She had just seen her baby on the ultrasound and was just told by her doctor everything was going great. It was a low-risk pregnancy, totally normal pregnancy. But the next day through the app, she noticed something was very off. She only got like 2 subtle movements in 2 hours, when normally it would only take her baby like 10 minutes to get to 10 movements. So she called her doctor's office and she said, something is very, very different. What should I do? And they said, I know we just saw you, but come on back in. We're going to look at you again. And what the doctor noticed on the ultrasound was this baby that he had just seen the day before could no longer move its ligaments. She was not moving her hands, her legs, which is not normal. And I think she was in the 37th week of pregnancy. He said, something's wrong. I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I'm going to get that baby out. So they performed an emergency C-section. And when they pulled Ruby out, the cord was wrapped tightly around her neck 4 times, which could have been deadly had she been born. And so they unwrapped the cord. She was in the NICU for a day or 2 and she's fine. She's now 8 years old and living in Ankeny. So that's one example. And then like another example is mine, where it was like, it didn't need that immediate intervention of a drastic surgery and a C-section and all of that. They just had the tools like Procardia to see if maybe he could stay inside longer. And for us, I think it's because we caught it so early. Without Count the Kicks, I know we would not have caught it that early. In fact, I was finishing my normal routine appointment and didn't show up on any of the tests in that appointment that something was off, because we weren't doing an ultrasound or things like that. So I would say the chief intervention is a C-section, but then there are some other things. There's also something called a cerclage. You're having cervix issues, things like that.
Last question.
Yeah.
One more question.
Okay, last question. Yes, sir.
Of the doctors that were naysayers, were most of them men or women?
I'll be honest with you, it is men. When we go to ACOG, which is the large OB association in this country, we go to their conferences, we host, exhibit there. I see a lot of diverse young female doctors stopping by our table, and this is of course just anecdotal, but coming by our table, loving the app, sharing it, saying, oh, I'm definitely gonna share this with my patients. So I would say that when I have heard, it does tend to be more men, like the comment of, we're just gonna make a mom crazy. In fact, he was even more extreme, he's just gonna make her batshit crazy, pardon my language. I just thought, that just seems pretty sexist. I mean, moms in general want this, so.
Thought so.
Thank you.
David said she should be on TV. Was a fantastic job, Emily. Thanks for sharing your personal story and all the great work you're doing in Count the Kicks. Upcoming meetings. We have our own Patty Quinlis, past state epidemiologist, who's going to speak to us about healthy aging. That should be very interesting, and another example of the great people we have in our club. On June 12th, Brianna's going to talk to us about what's going on at Rollins Mansion. And lastly, Scott Jean, CEO of EMC Insurance, will be here on June 19th. So another great array of varied programs for us to enjoy and learn from. Our next coffee get-together, our morning fuel, Tuesday, June 10th, at Freedom Blend Coffee from 9 to 10. Hope to see you there. Claudia Schabel will be highlighted and telling her story and about her company, Schabel Solutions, and her successes there. So it'll be very interesting. It's a great opportunity to grab a cup of coffee with Rotarians, chat a little bit, and then learn more deeply about some of the interesting and successful lives many of our members have had. So June 10th, put that on your calendar. That's it, folks. Thank you, Emily. Thank you to our guests for joining us today. Thanks for all of you coming. Make it a great Rotarian week, everybody. We are adjourned.